Good afternoon, Holmes Road Church of Christ. I hope you're having a great day, a great Wednesday. Just wanted to bring a little devotional. It's about 8 degrees outside, so I'm not going to do it outside today. I'm inside the house, and I hope this devotional will encourage you a little bit. I was recently reading a book that was given to me. I didn't buy it, but it was given to me by a friend, and he told me to read it a long time ago, and I never had, but I finally got around to it. The book was called Not Our Town. It was an inspiring true story of how the Christians in Billings, Montana, had decided that they need to act against hate. Some of you may remember this story. It's over 20 years ago. I didn't know it was happening. It took place when I was in college, so I wasn't paying attention, I guess, but I didn't realize this took place. But let me tell you about it in case you haven't heard the story. One quiet evening in Billings, early in December of 1993, a stranger arrived at the home of Tammy and Brian Schnitzer. That's a Jewish name, and they were a Jewish family. Anyway, this stranger, he walked across the lawn and had this large piece of tile in his hand that he picked up from the Schnitzer's porch. He stopped and looked at the window that was decorated with the Star of David decals and a menorah and several Jewish symbols. The menorah is that 9-branch candelabra that is the symbol of the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. And in hatred for the Jews and in anger, he hurled that piece of tile that he got from their own porch, and he sent it upstairs and sending it through the piece of glass. And he broke the shards of glass into many pieces all over the bedroom of a 5-year-old boy named Isaac. Over 80,000 people lived in that city called Billings, Montana. The town at the time was overwhelmingly Christian. 90-some% of the people identified as Christian. And out of this town of 80,000 people, there were only about maybe 50 Jewish families in the entire city. So they were not prominent. They were an extreme minority. And for some people, for some hateful people out there, I guess, that's still just too many to be tolerated. Some hateful people wanted Jews to get out of Billings altogether. And so they tried to drive them out through this kind of violence. In response, over 100 of the Christian churches in Billings, Montana decided to do something. Christians all over the town got together and began to repair the damage to the Schnitzer's home. They fixed it all up, painted it up, and cleaned everything up and made it even better than before. And the following Saturday, the newspaper did an interview with Tammy Schnitzer. And in the interview, the paper interviewer asked Tammy how things were going now. And she said, well, we appreciate the cleanup, but maybe it's not wise for my family to put up the Jewish symbols anymore. That even though I hold them very dear and they mean so much to me, it's probably not wise to hold up those Jewish symbols anymore and to put them up in our windows. It's just not safe to do so. People hate the Jews so much, it's just not safe for us to do that. The following week, hundreds of menorahs and other Jewish symbols began to pop up on the homes of Christian buildings and homes and even churches throughout the city of Billings. When the interviewers came back and asked the Christians, why were you putting up Jewish symbols? You people are Christians. Why are you putting up Jewish symbols everywhere? And the Christian leaders, they said, this is not about religious belief. This is about supporting human beings. It's about standing against hate and loving your fellow man. We do not support the Jewish teachings, but we support the Schnitzers and all the other humans that are in Billings who are experiencing hate and violence. We want them to know that we love them too. So the movement grew to thousands in that town. And there were literally thousands of Christians' homes who were putting up Jewish symbols all over town to show support for the Schnitzers and anyone else that was experiencing hate. As much as we wish that would be the end of the story, those who are filled with hatred for others and who don't agree with them, unfortunately, this did not deter them in their hate. In fact, It inspired them to make a second wave of attacks. Many attacks came on Christian churches and Christian homes who had put up all the symbols to show support. But this did not stop the Christians. Their desire to show love to their fellow man. The Christians sponsored a full-page ad in the Billings Gazette with a cutout that could be cut out and taped up on businesses or their home windows. The cutout was a picture of a menorah on it. And on that menorah it said, "Our town, no hate, no violence, peace on earth." As those Jewish symbols sprouted up in Christian windows, haters lashed out, man. They broke panes windows all over town. They were smashing up churches, schools, anything that had those symbols on it. 6 cars parked in front of homes that displayed menorahs had their windows kicked out, and the homeowners they would receive phone calls harassing them, telling them to go look at their car as we smashed your car, you Jewish lover, and things like this. Over 6,000 homes in Billings could be found with the cutouts in their window. The acts of vandalisms eventually began to wane. It didn't happen overnight, but the town stood together, and eventually the hate seemed to go away. This is just one example in history that shows that love will win. Hate can be fought and defeated. What would you have done if you lived in Billings at this time, and though you knew that family had been persecuted against violently? Would you have joined in? Would you have put up symbols of a religion that you do not believe in and you don't support, just to support another human being who's experiencing unfair discrimination? Would that have been you? Would you have participated? Would you have kept doing it? Would you have kept on putting up those Jewish symbols in your window, even while Christians were being attacked in that second wave? Would you still show love and support for another human being, knowing that it could bring you trouble? I know this. I don't know the answer to all those questions, but I know this. Jesus shows me love. He supports me and brings me mercy and grace. He gives me compassion and support when I need it. In Philippians chapter 2, verses 6 through 7, it reads, Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. Jesus came to earth to serve me, to help me, to comfort me, even when I do not deserve it. When people throw rocks at me, Jesus is there to give me compassion. Jesus is there to give me love and support. So if Jesus is there to do that for me, I should be there to do that for others. In Psalm chapter 138, in Psalm 138, verse 6, it says, "Though the Lord is exalted, he looks kindly on the lowly. Though lofty, he sees them from afar." Now, if God can look kindly on the lowly, even though he is the highest of high, he is the king, no other person is above him, and yet it says he shows kindness to the very lowly. So if he can show kindness to anyone, believer or not, Jesus will show kindness to everyone, then I should too. Thank you, God. Thank you for your compassionate love for me, and may I show your compassionate love to others when they need it. I hope this has helped you today, Holmes Road. Looking forward to seeing you soon.